Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today for the third Doc Talk of our series of Doc Talks this year as part of the Cannes Docs program, the industry program and networking platform for documentary film professionals here in Cannes, and maybe hopefully much more than just this, much more than just an industry program and networking platform, but also a place where we try to think about issues of our times that needs to be addressed and ways of maybe changing this industry a little bit. And this is one way of trying to make this industry evolve, what we're going to be talking about today. It is a huge honor and we're very proud to be collaborating with Chicken and Egg on this panel today. Thank you very much. Here for the first time in Cannes. Having a good Cannes up to now? Perfect. That's what I want to hear. Jenni Wolfson, thank you so much for moderating this conversation today. I don't want to have your names wrong. So with Alisa Kovalenko and Ilinca Calugareanu, both Chicken and Egg Awards recipients, and you will be exploring the huge added value of the way this award is conceived and how, again, this could be an inspiration for other grants in this industry. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Pierre-Alexis, Babette, Cassandra, fabulous Cannes Doc team. It's a pleasure to be here. Well done for finding this room. I think it was the hardest part of my day. And my name is Jenni Wolfson, and I am the CEO of Chicken and Egg Pictures. And I'm also here with my colleague, Kyoko McRae. Kyoko, put your hand up. Our program director. All budding filmmakers, make a beehive for Kyoko and me. And for those of you who don't know Chicken and Egg Pictures, we are a nonprofit based in New York, but we work globally. And we support women and gender expansive filmmakers, documentary filmmakers all over the world. And we support filmmakers at all careers, all stages of their careers, and all stages of their filmmaking with grants, mentorship, access, community, etc. And one of our signature programs is the Chicken and Egg Award, which is a program that is a year-long program for mid-career to advanced filmmakers through a nomination process. And we provide $75,000 to 8 filmmakers a year from around the world. $50,000 goes towards their career, and we'll talk more about that. And $25,000 goes towards a film that they are making during their year. And one of the key tenets of that award is defining success as you, the filmmaker, define it. And so that is what we are going to be exploring in this panel. And before we dive in, I'm going to ask Babette to play the Chicken and Egg reel. Thank you.
My grandmother and I dreamed of adventure, freedom, and peace. Of one day exploring vast oceans, because we were never allowed or taught how to.
Okay, so there are quite a lot of questions.
Okay.
去忙豆腐。
这是我这么说的人。
Do you know what you want to do?
Filming.
No, buried or cremated.
Oh. देश में बहुत ये वो हो रही थी तो इसको थोड़ा खत्म करना था ऐसे ही बस फिर हीरोइन आने का सपना देखा हीरोइन भी नहीं हो पाया
Cha cha 1 2 3
हम और आप कहते हैं कि जमाना बदल रहा है इस बदलते दौर पर महिलाएं कहां पर हैं
I feel
feel called to do this.
If you don't say nothing about it, they will not know.
Everything that we're doing really is life and death.
You can't stop us from doing what's necessary. We are not going to become more quiet. We're going to become louder.
Each one teach one.
Feels like a revolution.
Feel a little bit less alone in the world, which is very cool, isn't it?
These are the times that, I know that I'm doing the right thing. I am where I need to be.
मेरा दिल हौसला देता है मेरे लिए.
You want to give up sometimes, but I refuse to. So I'm going to fight it all the way to the end.
I really do think our victory is inevitable.
सांस लो लंबी लंबी.
This is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Thank you. And since, to use chicken and egg terminology, I see a few roosters in the room, I do want to also clarify, we also support men. If you are co-directing with women and gender expansive filmmakers, then we do always have men in our film labs. Okay, diving in, it was fun to look at Alisa and Ilinca's careers, and I found a few things that they have in common. So before I hand over to them, a couple of things. Both of them premiered their first film in 2015, and the names of those films are both very quirky and original. So Ilinca's film premiered at Sundance, Chuck Norris versus Communism, and yeah, amazing film. And Alisa's film, Alisa in Warland, premiered at IDFA in 2015, and they have since made multiple films. So check out their films if you are not aware of them. And both of them have been through multiple programs at Chicken and Egg Pictures. And this is important to state because at Chicken and Egg, we come in for the film, but we stay for the filmmaker, and we come in for the filmmaker and we stay for their career, really taking a holistic approach, knowing how hard it is to be an independent documentary filmmaker. So Alisa was awarded under our Critical Issues Fund. She also shared her project at our Doc Nest event, connecting key industry folk to filmmakers to help them raise more money for their films. And she's also a Chicken and Egg awardee. And Ilinca was an Accelerator Lab awardee for our first and second time filmmaker program, and was also at Doc Nest, also got a research and development grant, and is a Chicken and Egg awardee. So we support many new filmmakers every year, but when you come into Chicken and Egg, you are part of our alumni program when you graduate, and we continue to try and find ways to support you. So we love and appreciate every filmmaker story, as each of our filmmakers carves their own path to success. So I would love to start with both of you. Can you briefly share your story as a filmmaker thus far? And would you like to start, Alisa?
I'm from
I forgot to say you're both from Eastern Europe. You're from the Ukraine, and Ilinca is from Romania, lives in Scotland.
So I'm from Ukraine. I'm based in Kiev now, but I grew up in the city of Zaporizhia. It's kind of Ukrainian Detroit, metallurgical city. And my parents were metal workers, and my grandparents were metal workers. And but I'm like really growing working class family, and I still surprised that I'm here. And that it was a long way to become a documentary director. But it started. There is one small funny story, because my father had a video cassette player, and we had only one cassette with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was Commandos, this like action film, and I was 5 years old, and I was watching this film again and again. I don't know, maybe 50 times, and since then I love genre cinema. Yeah, and after I studied in the film school in Kiev, and after I studied in Vida school in Warsaw, and I made films, and I also learned a lot through making films. Yeah.
It's the first time I've heard a documentary filmmaker say they were inspired by Arnold Schwarzenegger. I love that so much.
But that is beautiful. That's an amazing story. So my name is Ilinca Calugareanu, and firstly I just wanted to say a huge thank you for having me here, and it's such a pleasure to be able to share about this mind-blowing experience that I had last year with the Chicken and Egg Award. And my story, I think, started in anthropology. My background is in anthropology, and then during my degree I started veering towards visual anthropology, and then I think the moment that really sealed the deal in me transitioning to a filmmaker was when I watched Man with a Movie Camera, Dziga Vertov's film from 1929. But it was really seeing his editor and wife in that magical moment where they pull back the curtains and we see behind the scenes the editing process and the constructedness of film. That's when I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to tell stories through the medium of film. So I enrolled on a master's in observational documentary filmmaking and at the Granada Center for Visual Anthropology in Manchester. And then shortly after that, I started my own production company in London, together with my sister, who's a producer. And what followed is over 10 years of telling stories that I absolutely had to tell. And they materialized in 3 feature documentaries. Now I'm working on my 4th, a few shorts, and just an insane, exhilarating, anxiety-inducing, sad, hard, but mind-blowing journey of being an independent documentary filmmaker, and I hope to share more about it. Thank you.
Beautifully put. That should be our tagline. So, Ilinca, you completed your Chicken and Egg Award year already, and Alisa, you're halfway through it almost. Can you talk about how the award has helped you reflect on your values, how it has guided you in making decisions in your career, setting goals, and defining what success means to you?
Should I go? I think for me, what the award did, and I think no other program had done before, is to create this amazing space over a period of a whole year to stop and think and stop the train that we are on as filmmakers, where you just go from project to project and you're trying desperately to tell the stories and you never have time perhaps to look back and to see the red thread of your journey and see where you want it to go from now on, and have that luxury of space and time given to you, because we can't take it as independent filmmakers because we don't have those resources. So I think the award is amazing in creating that space to look back, to think about our career. And for me, what it did, and it's just been a magical moment, and I'm still embarrassed to talk about it, but it just allowed me to embrace my work, to accept that I have a voice, that I have one vision amongst many other visions, and that I can go ahead and tell those stories and keep telling stories. Because, and speaking of success, I think for us as independent filmmakers, especially documentary filmmakers, the work is never done, the film is never done, and we think about it, and it could always be better, and it could always, we could have shot more, we could have edited more, it could have been perfect, but it's not. And then there's all these other external validations. Is it into this festival? Is it into that festival? If it is in that festival, what were the reviews? Were they validating enough? Were they not validating? Is that where the success comes from? And then further on, has it reached people? Has it reached enough people? What is enough people? Or has it started a conversation? What sort of conversation is something that I think, okay, the journey is successful? So I think for me, the award was a place to think about all these things, and to understand that for me, success is being able to tell the stories that I have to tell, finding those resources, having a network, and I think Chicken and Egg is hugely instrumental in building that network of accessing resources, so I can keep telling stories and we can keep starting conversations and we can keep reaching audiences. So that's for me.
Wow.
Sorry, I rambled.
Yeah, no, but of course I agree with many things you just mentioned. No, for me it was also a moment when I felt like that I lost completely the ground under my feet, because it was a moment when full-scale war started. And I felt that I cannot make cinema actually anymore, and I felt that like what you can do now in this moment when bombs are falling on your family. And I became a soldier actually. And after I came back to filmmaking, I finished my film when I was, at the time we were editing We Will Not Fade Away. And it was this moment when you really adapting a lot generally in what's important in life. Is documentary important? How much is it important? And I still don't have answers to all these questions. But I felt that I really needed support and I needed to feel some kind of more confidence that I'm going the right way, the right path. And I had a story which was important for me to share. And I really needed also, like, not only support, like financial support, because of course we are in a very like complicated situation in Ukraine. Our fund, film fund, didn't function, so all money went to army, and like so we couldn't have any support from our country to make films. But it was also this emotional, psychological support, because you feel that you are also important for somebody, and that your story can be heard by people who are like very with deep empathy listen you and your story. And yeah, and success for me, I don't know. I still don't know if I'm successful, to be honest. It's like I'm always doubting if I'm that talented person, if I even deserve all of this, all what I have. But there was one moment when it was a Berlinale screening of We Will Not Fade Away, of my third documentary, and it was one of the character, and he answered one question at Q&A, and it was the question, how do you feel about this film? Because he watched it for the first time. And it was a film about a world which was not existing anymore, a world where he grew up, he had his family, and it's all occupied and destroyed. And he said that after beginning of full-scale invasion, he felt that his life became a kind of black field, completely burned, and he didn't feel that anything light stayed in this past. And after watching this film, it was kind of time machine, magical gate to this past. And I think that's what's important about documentary films, that we can capsulize, save some worlds which are not existing anymore, and we can give this gift to people that they can travel to this world. And for him, it was like a kind of that he gave a birth him again, that his life, his past was actually beautiful and bright, and there was lots of love in this past. And he said me, thank you for this film. So for me, this is success.
Yeah. That's so beautiful. You're both so inspiring and asking hard questions and looking for answers. I am curious, just to know in terms of who's in the room, can you put your hand up if you are a filmmaker? Okay, and if you're in the film industry, supporting filmmakers, you can be both, of course. It looks like there's a lot of you who are both. Okay, great. And then the other category, you can put your hand up so you can get some exercise too. Great. Okay. So moving on to looking at more pivotal moments of success, and as you both already are outlining, there are multiple ways of defining your success as a filmmaker, and they don't just sit in the film festivals and the awards. They go much, much further. And many of the filmmakers that we are collaborating with are making really important social justice films that are, going on to have long lives, as you say. The film, you could make the film forever, but when the film is finished, it can have a long life in the documentary space and beyond. So tell us about, especially since we have so many filmmakers in the room, what have been some key opportunities in your career that have been instrumental to your success and that you think could be useful for other filmmakers to know, worthwhile investments of time and money, because that is one of the hardest things as a filmmaker. Where do you invest your time and your money, and what would you like to share? And Alisa, do you want to go first?
Okay. Yeah. So when I was in film school, actually our film school was super poor. We had only like shitty VHS cameras, and which actually we never can get. Even and DOPs didn't want to film with us because they wanted to make fiction films and to go to Cannes. So and they didn't think that with documentary films you could go to Cannes. So it was always struggle, like actually in this struggling. But we were dreamers and we loved cinema so much. We were super poor, and but we love documentary films. And I remember actually also one funny moment with my best friend. We were studying together. We went to watch French documentary, very creative documentary, and we went to the House of Cinema. And I opened the door of cinema, and there were 3 old women sitting in the cinema. One was sleeping, one was eating some salad, and I closed the door and said, "Luba, I think it's the wrong place." She said, "No, it's right place. It's our audience." And like, but actually, after this, like, we went through many things, and after it was IDFA. But what was important is also people around you, whom you met, and I think I found lots of inspiration because we were like all like crazy dreamers together. And when like people with a deep passion together doing something, they will get this success. And after also, it's important support, like chicken and egg support is like it was like. Yeah, incredibly give you more like strength inside you and to feel that you're doing something good, important. But also like IDFA, for example, I became kind of IDFA family member because I pitched my project at IDFA. We got after IDFA Bertha Fund, and I went many times to IDFA. And it kind of also all these families, festivals, and great people whom you meet. They actually help you to reach success. It's not you only one fighter in the field. You're like in community, and this feelings being in community, it's super important, and it really drives you. Like, it gives lots of energy.
So you can take your salads out, and yeah, my family. I've done a few things in my life that I think are kind of impressive. But literally, it was my birthday yesterday, and they were all sending me birthday messages, going, "You have made it now. You are at Cannes." I was like, okay, that's your measure of my success in my career, and obviously with your family too. I'm like, but we're in the dock part of Cannes, so a little different, but.
I think so. I could talk about so many things, but I think it is about finding your people and going to those places where you can find those people and discovering. When you're at the beginning, you have to discover and understand where those people and who those people might be. But it's been from the very first project that I work on, taking part in markets, pitching, meeting people. It's never been lost energy, lost investment. I mean, it's always energy, isn't it? We take all this time and we go, and that is, in a way, we always think as directors, time away from the project and time away from filming and working on the film, but it's not, because even then your mind keeps creating. And I always find taking part in markets, my brain still also continues thinking creatively, so that's also an amazing bonus. But a very useful programs that I took part has been, I think Doc Incubator was a huge thing to take part in with my first feature documentary, which is an editing workshop, where I met a lot of my people taking part in Sheffield Meat Market. Edinburgh Pitch is another place where I started meeting my people. I met Chicken and Egg for the first time at Sheffield Meat Market. IFP, now Gotham Market. So all these places. Then, of course, premiering at Sundance is, in a way, that thing that we all think about and that we know about is so significant in the life of a project. And my first documentary is still alive today, and it's still starting conversations, and it has its journey. I think a lot of it is due to premiering there and to starting conversations there and being part of that family. And then being in the Chicken and Egg Accelerator Lab with my second project meant hugely, I think, for understanding what working in the US means, what funding in the US means, what getting those connections, because it's so different from Europe. And then, of course, the award year has really... So I think, but what I would say, these are all events, but it's the people, and it's building that family that during the pandemic, it was so amazing. Like I could still connect with you. We were all so isolated, but we had things, we had talks, and it just felt like the family was there. And the network keeps growing, and we support each other, and hopefully we can support other filmmakers who are now starting, and tell about chicken and egg programs, and invite you all to take part, because it's really amazing. So.
Thank you. Yeah, there's so many incredible opportunities in our industry, and you really do have to pick and choose and make sure you research and you're going to the right places to meet the right kinds of people. When we were in the green room behind the plants over there, Ilinca actually shared, in terms of like juggling everything, I hope it's okay to share this, that you changed your flight because you had an opportunity to shoot your protagonist earlier, and so she's jumping on a plane tonight instead of tomorrow to go back. So it's like, how do you sort of manage to be at these different kinds of meat markets and festivals and make your film and raise money, and it's a lot of different hats to wear. Let's talk about preconceived notions of success. As I said, one of the goals of the Chicken and Egg Award is to define for yourself what success looks like. So do you struggle with preconceived notions of success? You've mentioned that briefly, but list 3 or up to 3 notions of success that we collectively buy into that can be counterproductive.
I mean, I can name one that is usually kind of the cycle of the year is the Sundance submission and whether or not you get into that and how that defines the life and success of a project. And that sometimes maybe you can get too obsessed with just that and not understanding why you want that particular premiere there. And is that the place to premiere the project that you're working on? Is it the best place? Is it the place where you can start the conversations that you want to start, the impact that you want to have? So if you just do it for the Sundance, then it can become maybe one of these thing that traps your mind and your creativity and a lot of emotional energy, I think, to name one.
Yeah, actually, yeah. The worst thing is like when you really want to have success. I think you shouldn't, like, because you have to do it from your heart. And for me, always, even when I watch films, I think first about motivation. Why this person made this film? And if I have no answer to these questions, then for me, this film losing like this value somehow. And yeah, so first you make something what is important for you, and after, yes, then you can have success. But also going to success on the way is like lots of failures. Nobody see it. It's like you are falling. You are like how many, I don't know, grants you didn't receive. How many like oh, and after you have a mail. Oh, you are in the final list, and you're like, okay, and that after you don't get it. Then maybe we don't need this final list. I don't know. Maybe because yeah, it's a kind of fake thing. Yeah, and but also I don't know, money. Like success is not money. Also, I think in documentary filmmaking, yeah, it's very hard to earn money. One time I was at one festival and we were sitting like with different filmmakers, directors, with very super successful films. For example, one was Lea Glob, Apollonia. She was there, and after somebody said, okay, and now let's talk how you really making money. Like, what do you do? And everybody actually was doing something. So that's why it's so great, actually, Chicken and Egg, because it helped you at least 1 year. Don't think about this and think about what you really want to do. Yeah, to develop yourself creatively. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think we should be afraid to talk about money in the documentary industry. No one in their right mind goes into this field to make money, but everybody needs to make a living and survive and thrive. And so it's also good to talk about money. So because we do have quite a lot of organizations in the room, talk about how do we go about shifting our thinking on how we help filmmakers to succeed and not to be tied up into Sundance or the awards or whatever. And I think there were 17,500 applications to Sundance Film Festival this year. I don't know how many films were supported, but it was under 100 or around that maybe. So what can organizations do to help support filmmakers more?
I mean, I think 2 things come to my mind. Of course, it's the money thing, and we can talk about that. But I think Secondly, at this point, I feel that we're in a moment where, for independent documentaries, it's so hard to reach our audiences. And I feel that those gateways are narrowing, the doors are closing, and I think organizations can really help us open them up again, because I think audiences are ready for different types of documentaries, for different types of storytelling, for different types of stories from all these places, for memorializing all these things that are disappearing, much more than the gatekeepers, whether they are streamers, whether they are broadcasters, whether they are festivals, think the audiences are not ready or are not willing to consume this. So I think helping us find different ways to reach them, perhaps festivals I think generally it feels like it's a time where a lot of organizations are very risk adverse. So jumping ahead more boldly and helping us find different ways to reach audiences, and also festivals perhaps, because it kind of feels like a lot of the same films are playing throughout the years, but there's so much more out there, and they find it so hard to get to the audiences who are ready for these films. That's the thing. So there's something blocking that channel, and how can we open it up is one question I can ask.
I agree, but I also think that maybe we should educate our audience. Maybe we should invest also much more in the children's documentaries, showing them, because after they will love documentaries. Yeah. I remember how it works so well because ITFA has this program and they show films for schools, for classes, and I was amazed by questions from teenagers, what they asked me, and yeah, but of course, yeah, money. But also, we were recently thinking with Kaisa Bonetsko, who is an editor, one of the greatest editors. She's there. Yeah, we were talking about this kind of like we have doc incubator, but also something which help you in the middle of your career, not when you're like it's your first film, but sometimes you can lose your fresh eye on what you are doing, and it's really important and valuable to have feedbacks. And on this stage, when you have like good rough cut, fine cut, and you really need to brainstorm and to talk, and this kind of like kind of not doc incubator, but something similar but for already established filmmakers, it could be also important. And also what I was thinking about the support of mothers filmmakers, because it's actually very, very hard to be mother and to make films. It's not like you go to office, you bring your child to kindergarten, and you go to office. And after from office, you take again your child from kindergarten, and you went home. No, you go to Donbass and you stay 1 month. And with whom your son will stay when he's 3 years old. My mother was living with us, really. My husband was not very happy about this, but we couldn't do it differently because he was also a war reporter, and he was also going in Donbass. And it was also crazy because at the beginning, full-scale invasion, I was in Donbass, and my husband was in Donbass, and my mother was with our son alone. And it's crazy situation, and you really also need as a mother filmmaker, I really needed this support. And it's not fair that it's hard. And also there is one funny thing. My son was like 3 years old, and I was filming children in Donbass, teenagers. And one day he drew a picture for me. It was like mom, me, and children of Donbass. So he was thinking that children who are filming, they're also my children. They're just living in Donbass. So because I spent so much time there, yeah.
Yeah, those are just such pertinent points. I was actually at a summit a couple of weeks ago, and somebody spoke about how motherhood is the unfinished business of feminism, and how there's not a gender pay gap, there's a motherhood pay gap, and how hard it is to be a mother. And and that's another thing that you were both referring to, that we see a lot at Chicken and Egg Pictures. We hear from our filmmakers, they say, oh, people think because we've made 2 films, 3 films, 4 films, that we don't need help anymore, that we've made it, we have all the networks, the contacts, and that's just not the case. Obviously, you know what you're doing, but you're not willing to sleep on couches anymore and share a studio with your entire crew, like you did in your first film. We're grown-ups. Not that you're not a grown-up, it's the first time.
I have my own couch now.
Okay, so I'm doing a quick time check. Okay, last question. last question, and if we have time, we'll take one question, but this is a shorter panel, but I think less is more, so we'll leave you wanting. You both have incredible projects in the works. I'm not going to say, I was going to say something about each of those projects, but I'm going to let you talk. What does success look like for the projects that you are currently working on?
We pitched yesterday here.
How did that go?
No, it was it was great. I don't know. We heard good feedbacks. No, but for me, it was like great support also from Chicken Neck for this project I'm working on now, Frontline. But this project, it's more than project. It's even like, yeah, it's hard to say like a project. It's like part of life. Because when I became a soldier and I was fighting, at a moment I felt, okay, if in case I will die here on the front line, what will my son will remember about me? He was not even 5 years old when I left him, and I started to write letters for him in the future and filming little by little some small fragments from reality around us on the front line, like daily life of me and my comrades. I wanted to save something for him as a kind of souvenir, and it was not supposed to be a film. But after, when I started to look at what I filmed, little bit, even what I wrote, letters, I thought that this film can become this kind of bridge of memory between parents who went to fight and their children. And many of my comrades who had the same age children, they died, and they will never hug these children, and these children will never know what kind of experience they went through. And I wanted to save something about this experience. Yeah, and actually what I'm, thanks to support of Chicken and Egg, actually, I decided even to make this film, I have to say. And this was my inner success, that I had this power, yeah, to start it.
Alisa always manages to make us cry at chicken and egg pictures, but you're really making such a brave and beautiful film, and you're really like just pushing stereotypes of mothers on the front lines, making a film about a war that has sadly been on the front page of our news for too long. So thank you for the story that you were telling.
Yeah, just amazing. Thank you. I don't know what I can say after that. I think for me, success for the project I'm working on is making it. I think finding the resources so that I can have time to deeply be with the reality that the film talks about, to deeply be with the protagonists who are doing amazing work and challenging the status quo and how our justice systems address child sexual abuse. And I'm filming with these amazing women in Romania who are trying to change the status quo, and they're relentless, they're badass, but people don't know about that work. And I think it's so important to be able to be there and deeply be there for the time that the project requires, to tell that story and to start the conversations that they want to have, that we think we should start. So success is being able to do that and finding those resources, and in that process also finding the audiences and think how will we get this to people. So it's all connected.
Also such an important story. So if you're looking for great films out there, whoever you are, these are two films to look at. Okay, we do have time for like one question. So make it good.
The pressure.
Who would like to ask a question? I always have questions, but there has to be one question in the room. Oh, yay.
He saw me thinking about it. So I'm a rooster who supports chickens with eggs. Cool. I mean, that's what it's coming down to at the end of the day. But yeah, there's this young lady. She started a nonprofit, and I feel like a lot of times nonprofits have the same thought process. Like they want to do great work, and they don't necessarily have filmmakers that support them. So I guess my question is, how can me as a filmmaker, how can we integrate this process where I find nonprofits that are either non-barrier or women-based? Like how can I support them and then interact with Chicken and Egg in an impactful way?
How can you as a filmmaker support nonprofits?
I know I can shoot their stuff. I know
Yes.
how I can support them, but how can I intertwine the work and support I do with them and intertwine it with you guys is my real question.
That's a great question. I'm going to see if either of you as filmmakers have an answer to that question.
I'm not sure. I think just telling people about what you've heard today, I think that's a way to support the work. And just collaborating and making stuff together is the second thing that we should do. That's what comes to mind.
Actually, I'm making one project together with an organization of women who survived conflict-related sexual violence, and I'm also activist because I was in captivity and I survived this, and we are just trying to make kind of more advocacy film, impact film. And and we are also trying to reach some NGOs and like to collaborate. So it's actually for me it's a new way to discover how to make kind of film about like this important human rights topic and how to collaborate with different human rights organizations, institutions. It's a bit another way of making like films with like funds or I'm still discovering this, to be honest.
Well, thank you. I'm just going to sum up by saying a couple of things. One, encouraging all you industry organizations out there to support careers, not just films, and to let filmmakers define their own, what success means to them, and to, that goes beyond the festivals and the awards. We didn't talk about kind of creative distribution, but that is one thing that we're all thinking about, like how do we reach? We know audiences are out there that want documentary films, that want films by underrepresented filmmakers about issues that we don't see often enough in the mainstream. So how do we reach those audiences and build sustainable careers? Kyoko will be on a panel tomorrow that has a too long and complicated name to repeat, but that means it's going to be really interesting and in depth. So look out for Kyoko's panel at 2 o'clock. Is it 2 o'clock? And we'll hang around for those of you who do have questions. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you to two very inspirational, brave, resilient, inspiring filmmakers.
Thank you.